14th, Valentine's Day for many of you out there now. Now, normally I would be, but I had my Valentine's Day yesterday because the other half is away with the children, so I am all alone on Valentine's Day. So look, I hope everybody is doing extremely well this evening. There is no FA Cup for United, which I think makes this this day just a little bit sadder, really. So we should be playing in the FA Cup, but sadly we're not, and that's the price that you pay for not having success. So look, I hope we are all doing extremely well tonight. So the first thing to say is, look, get into this amazing community. This is the best community on this platform. We do have some of the most amazing people that come on here, especially in the moderators and the community. Always support the channel, so I can only thank you enough for that. Be respectful to the community, be respectful to the chat, be respectful to yourselves. I think sometimes people come on here and they are nice people in like a normal life, but then they come on here or they come on the internet and then they behave in a way that isn't them. But look, you don't need to do that on here. And be respectful to me, otherwise the ban hammer comes out. We don't like doing it, but we absolutely will. Second thing of all, I'm not a dictator of the chat. Basically means that I really do read out your views and opinions. It's really important to the channel. It is really, really important that you guys have your opinions and your views. And if I do come back on some of your views and opinions, I literally respect your views. It is just me. You just sparked off a conversation that we're talking about. So, Valentine's Day. Look, it is Valentine's Day. I was debating or not whether to do a show tonight, but I decided to do one. On the basis that, look, my wife isn't here. She's not with another man. She's with my children. It is half term, and they have gone away. We did a Valentine's Day last night, so I've got a free night now. I'm hoping many of you have. Look, if there are more important things in life tonight, so look, I'm hoping that you guys, if you're spending it with your wives or your husband or whoever it is, go and spend that time with them. But look, but if not, welcome here, get into this amazing community. Don't be scared to get in your chats, by the way. I generally do read out your chats, so if you want interaction with the channel. United hasn't won 5 games in a row yet. But they better than last year. And look, Shamrock says, hello JB, Lucky is in the house and I hope you're doing it extremely well. Look, the first thing to say is, look, when we're talking about the 5 games, I'm not going to go too much into that. And just to let you guys know, like, this is your show tonight as well. The evening shows typically is your show. There are some things I want to talk about. Obviously, I wasn't on yesterday, so I wanted just to come on tonight and kind of update. But there is something that we really do need to talk about, and I think I need to get your opinion on, and and this is starting to filter out. I'm starting to hear stuff as well. So look, I don't know if you know, but I do get the odd bits of information here and there, and I've been told some interesting stuff. That United isn't a happy camp. And I'll give you the background to that as well. I'll give you all of that good stuff. So look, good evening. Saturday night, depending on where you are in the world, Valentine's Day, if you believe in all that stuff. Hopefully you're spending it with your other halves and all that sort of stuff. But if not, welcome here. Logan says we beat Salford again. Well, Logan, mate, come on now. If you can't beat Salford, buddy, but look, actually, first thing to say actually tonight is some Mansfield League One beating Burnley today. Magic of the FA Cup. Absolutely brilliant. I don't know how Liverpool are doing. If somebody wants to tell me how Liverpool are doing, I don't know what the score is on that. I will keep an up to date on that. Let's have a little look. Don't know what the score is on that one. I will try and get an up to date score on that one. I will keep it up to date on that one. Did you see Burnley Stadium? It was empty. I'm not surprised, mate. I'm not surprised. Liverpool are winning 3-0. So Liverpool look like they're in the next round as well. Newcastle, Aston Villa. So look, FA Cup wise today, what we're seeing today. What we're seeing today, and this fits. Ollie James says Arsenal to win the league. Yes, Ollie, 100%. Look, and again, this is your show tonight. You don't have to support the club, by the way. Get in your opinions, and look, we will go through your stuff as well. What are we saying? Let's have a look. Look, it's Arsenal's to win, And look, I'm not trying to put Arsenal fans down here, right? It is Arsenal's to lose. I think for me, Arsenal are the team to beat. If Arsenal don't win this league this year, this is nothing to do with anybody. This is nothing to do with City being good. This is nothing to do with anyone else being good. If Arsenal don't win the league this season, then it's purely on them, because it is theirs for them for the taking. So, Ollie, I'm expecting Arsenal to win the league. Let's see. Let's see if Arsenal can actually hold their nerve. Newcastle smash Villa was a good result. It puts Villa's form off, and it does. I mean, I watched the first half. I saw Aston Villa. That was a really, really good goal, actually. A little free kick like over the top. Villa, I don't know what is going on with Villa. In the context of teams, it doesn't really impact me. When Aston Villa were in to fight for the league, then it was an interesting league. I just hope that they can get back into it. If not, Villa could. It could be one of those seasons for Villa, which could have promised so much, and yet they'll be disappointed, but Aston Villa could finish third. It could be one of those seasons that I think Villa fans should be quite happy with, and I think they may be disappointed on the basis that they could have got into a title race. Look, if there was any season for an Aston Villa to get into a title race, it would be like now. So look, Villa, are they about to implode? I hope not. I like Villa. We do have some amazing Villa fans on here as well. So let's see. Next match will be harder. How can we beat Exeter 10-1 but only beat Salford 2-0? Ollie James says, I'm getting nervous. And look, Ollie, you should do. Like, Ollie, this is what it's about, buddy. You should absolutely, that is how you know that you're in a title race, is you should be nervous. It's a nervousness, mate, because you care, right? So I do think that can this Arsenal team, and I think, Ollie, I think it comes down to this. It's not about players. I think you've more than got the players. It's not about talent. It's not about the manager. It is can the group collectively hold their nerve, and if, Ollie, they go on to win the league this season, I think they'll go on and they may not defend it next season, but I think they'll maybe win another 2 or 3 leagues in the next 4 or 5 years. David says, I'm glad United are getting better. It's a hard act to follow, Sir Alex Ferguson. David, mate, it is. But look, Fergie, for me, he's long gone. I think you make a good point there, though. I think as a point, it's a point well made on the basis that I think the only way that we move forward is if we need to put this Fergie thing. Look, Fergie, I know people seem to have this issue. with Ferguson being around, the guys around, the guy built the club. It's only until this team can or this. I almost feel at times the Fergie stick is used to beat the team as and when. I think fans like me have moved on from the Fergie days. They were a long time ago, even before some fans now who are 12 years old were even alive. So, it is true, but I don't think they're following on from Fergie now. I think it's not often, David, that I sort of hear that now. But I don't know, mate. I don't know what the mindset is. I don't, mate. Who do you dislike more, City or Liverpool as a United fan? Now, Harif, I just have to say this. I just have to say this from like, you get all sorts of fans, right? Now, some people, when they hear me say this, they may think my opinion is based on the fact that I'm not from the area, right? This is my view, right? I dislike Liverpool more, and the reason why I do is because of the success. Is because of it's basically because they were so good for so long, we overtook them, and now we've been bad for so long, and you could probably and now the one thing that I would, if you'd have said that to me, Harif, you'd have said that to me September last year, I would have probably said something along the lines of, well, Liverpool, we're still the biggest club in England, right? I still believe that we are. I'm probably holding on to that, but we're going down the money list. Very, very long. My whole argument, or some of my argument, is even though we're not successful, we're still the biggest club in England. That isn't going to hold sway. So I look, City. I respect fans. I respect what the owners are trying to do, but it's very, very, very difficult for me to have an emotional opinion on a team that got artificially money into the club. But look, that's by the by. My passion or my emotion more so comes from Liverpool being successful, and it's envy. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like I would say I dislike Liverpool now because I'm envious that the fact that they've caught up again. I'm envious that their club spends money. I'm envious that their fans will back each other, and envious that their fans will if they don't like something, that they'll come together. So it's probably I would probably change that word for dislike to probably more respect, really. Let's have a little look. Man City will win the Premier League. I don't think they will. Who's United got up next? Everton. Yes, that's correct. Man City. Look. There's this whole thing, right? City, right? I get it, right? Look, 115 and all that sort of stuff, right? There's no point in me banging on about that, because look, that's whatever happens. And it's just, for me, I think as a fan, I think if I start focusing and making excuses for our club, start making excuses for if I start trying to use every excuse out there to say, look, like Man City's thing and right, if I start to do that, I become the Glazers. If I start trying to spin a fan base around saying, well, we might be crap on the pitch and we've not won a league for 13 years, but look at this team, or look at that team. As much as back in the day, yes, was it annoying? Yes, but I think for me, the reason why I don't really want to focus on that anymore is because we shouldn't have to. Our excuses should be on, and the eyes should be not on City. That is their club. Whatever happens to them, that is on them. We need to focus on our club, and we need to focus on, never mind anybody else. We need to keep the eyes on these bastards that are at our club. So Jerry says United's priority should be to qualify for the Champions League next season. It gives the new coach the finances to improve the squad and hopefully draw Celtic in the group stage. And I'll go through that as well. I'll go through all that stuff as well. Obviously, but United will never look what he produced, homegrown players that kept their identity, the club's identity. Even Jim Ratcliffe knows that. And look, David, mate, I know exactly what you're trying to say, buddy. And I think you're right. I'm going to remove Jim out of that because Jim's a prat. You are right. I think we struggle more so because Fergie, we knew what we were, and I think you're right there, David. I think under Ferguson, we knew what we were. You knew what we were trying to do. You know the sorts of players that we were trying to get. But right now, since he's gone, we don't. It's a scattergun approach. Our hearts are on fire in the Scottish League. Liverpool are United's biggest rival, not even close. Herbie says, evening JB, hope all is well. I'm doing... Kieran says, hey, where you been? How are things? Kieran, I'm good, mate. I've been here. I just didn't do a show yesterday on a Friday night. Now I tend not to do a show weekends when there's not a game on. Again, look, when there's not a Premier League weekend, I don't look. I am not the sort of channel. I'm not the sort of person who's basically going to. I should do, but I'm not just going to spam you guys with a bunch of crap just to get views. I would rather do one show, a longer show. We can talk about stuff together, and this late show is perfect for that because you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, and I can get in the topics as well. So look, I've been around, buddy. Kieran says, and Kieran, look, I hope you're doing it extremely well. If the new state, okay, let's have a little look. How things have turned around for United since last week. Kieran, it has been unbelievable. And as well, I have to say this, Carrick as well has won the manager of the month. And it's fantastic. It is, and again, we can talk about Carrick as well, which we will. But we've got to take the positives. Like, Carrick has won the manager of the month. That's fantastic. I can't even tell you how pleased I am for that guy. I think it was a very, very lucky appointment. If Amarin hadn't have said what he said, Carrick would not be here. But Carrick has been brought in. I don't think Carrick could have done a better job. I don't. I don't. Irrespective of whether I think long term he's good, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk tonight about was Carrick and Spurs, and talk about that as well. And we will get on to that as well. Carrick winning manager of the month, I think is fantastic for him. And for me, it's just another tick. Every game, he can only prove it. West Ham, I don't think his stock dropped, but I just think that he got that wrong. But the manager of the month for Carrick, mate, Carrick, fantastic. But like, I can't even express how pleased I am for him. And look, these players as well. So look, I think the coaching team, I think the players, and I think him, they all have to get credit for what they've achieved together as a group. Can they continue that? I don't know. And lucky for some says, if the new stadium doesn't go ahead, Jim will sell shares. Yes. If the stadium doesn't go ahead, the Glazers and Ineos will sell because they can't afford to keep the club. Simple as that. So if they don't sell, if the new stadium doesn't happen, then it's the end of the Glazers. Kieran says, short result for us tonight. Yep. Mind you, in a way, probably done us a favour. Less games so we can concentrate on Champions League qualification, either via Europe or the league, says Kieran. And Kieran, the sad thing, Kieran, for me, is why teams like Villa, and what I thought was disgusting, really, was when Villa had to sell your players, right? So you had to sell players to balance the books, right? It seems to me really preposterous and really ridiculous that a team like an Aston Villa, who, even though they are an historic successful club, at the moment they're punching above their weight, which is ridiculous because they are an historic club who's won things. But right now they're trying to punch above their weight, and yet it seems to me that they're like handicapped and they can't get enough of a bigger squad to be able to compete in these competitions. In my view, it would be beneficial to the Premier League, beneficial to UEFA, to have a team like a Villa enabled to get a bigger squad, because then it means that they can go into different competitions. I don't get this whole trying to handicap a team like that. I kind of an old school historic team, and handicapping them from being able to buy players. But look, I think, Kieran, as sad as it is, I think you're right. I think, Villa not being in all of the cup competitions, I do hate to say it. I think choosing between the league, Champions League, and the cups, I think, is a ridiculous notion. And sadly, that is the position that you're in. And look, if United get into the Champions League and retain this size squad, we're going to be in the exact same position next season. So Snip Snip says Shesko needs to start in, Boomer on the right, Ahmed benched. We need to start in Boomer. Look, again, like get in your opinions. It's interesting. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me how fan opinion changes so much, right? So Shesko wasn't doing a lot in terms of, he's still been scoring goals. Perhaps he's not necessarily been to everybody's standards, but I've enjoyed him. I think he's a handful. City, Arsenal, City, Fulham, Spurs, nobody was really calling for a Shesko. Shesko comes on, scores a goal, and everybody wants a Shesko to start. Now, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just wonder, and I want you to keep in the back of your minds, is that if Shesko does start, and then Shesko has a bad game the next game, are people going to be saying, well, actually, Shesko shouldn't be in this guy? So I think if people are calling for Shesko, and I do agree, if Shesko's going to get a run in this side, people are going to have to accept he needs a run of games. So it can't just be this, he plays a game, he's not great, he goes out of the team. If people are going to call for Shesko to play in this team, we need to allow Shesko to have a couple of games, and then maybe you take him back a bit. But I think if we are going to bring in Shesko into this squad, I think people need that longevity mindset. Like he says, exactly. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe, guys. Danny is in the house. Hull City super fan. I'm from Hull City. Hull City super fan. Welcome, my friend. We have all sorts of rival fans in here as well, buddy. So look, it's always good. I always love different fans in here, and Hull City. I know, good team. I love them in the Premier League. Oh look, a bit of run and no boo-hooing about the Glazers. You clearly, Ox, don't watch this channel. Any chance I get, mate, I'll have a pop at the Glazers, and I will be having a go at that tonight. Scott says, yes, JB, Scott is in the house, legend, as always. I've been saying we should have had Carrick for the last 4 years. We will get into that tonight as well. I do just want to get through some. I'm going to get through the chat, and then I'm going to go through that stuff. Dino is in the house. Danny says, "Host Charlie Hughes going to play for United." I watched him a couple of times. He's a good player. Whole super fan is Charlie Hughes good enough to play for United? I watched the first half of the Brighton Liverpool game, and Baleba has some good moments. Definitely a talent, but I'm suspicious given his overall attitude this season. The challenge is beating good low block teams. Agree with you completely. Sky's in the house. Sky, hope you're doing extremely well. Members Club Sky, absolute legend. Thank you, Sky. You are a legend, and you are appreciated. And Sky is an absolute legend. Nikki T is in the house as well. Did anybody see the shocking officiating? So look, what did I want to get into? So look, I wanted to come on tonight because look, I do get little bits of stuff. I do get little bits and pieces of stuff. Now, I haven't had stuff for a little while, but I was having a conversation, and all I can tell you, and it is going to start to feed through, that there is a maybe look, there is some rumblings that, and I think if you go through it, that the Glazers and Ineos and Sir Jim, they're not in a good place. For the first time, we are starting to see the crack show. Now, if we go back before what Sir Jim said, and let's just be clear on this, what Sir Jim said has impacted the club. The club is playing it down as they always do. The club is trying to curtail this, and is trying to limit the damage. But the damage has been done. The damage has absolutely been done. Now, when we're talking about, the government side, we're not going to go into that tonight. But what we are talking about tonight, and this is really, really important, Eddie, legend, my friend, and I hope you're doing extremely well. Even if we go back before what Sir Jim has said, we're not going to go into that. But financially, and if we go back and we look at this, so Ineos and the Glazers. So the first thing to say, Jim Boyce dragged United's good name through the put, and exactly. Now, if we look at Ineos and Sir Jim's history before they came into this club, everybody was told about Nice. Nice was there. Nice was there. And now what we've seen, and whether we like the Glazers or not, and to go back to Ox Smells in the comments. No, this club, I cannot stand the Glazers. Look, I've said this many times. I cannot stand the Glazers. The damage that they've done. Do you think? I do, Kieran. I do. I think he's damaged. He's damaged Plymouth. Argyle supporter says, Argyle, mate, you're more than welcome in here, Plymouth. Argyle fans, any fans, mate, we've got no problem. Welcome, my friend. The damage has been done, Kieran. There are some things, there are some comments. As Carrick left United, no gift. No. There are some things that you can say, some things that you can't. There is civil war, from what I've been told, and again, as I say to you, wonderful people, there's a couple of things that I've been told. I trust this person. I've told you guys some stuff, and it's either come true or parts of it are true. An FA Cup run last season was insane. Legend. There is unrest in the club. There is civil war. The players are not happy. Now, tonight, for those people who like myself are looking for a twinkling, the downside to that, the downside for all of the positivity around the fighting, the positivity around, you know, the fact that they're not friends anymore, the fact that, you know, if they, you know, if the Glazers and Ineos split up, who's going to get the children? Who's going to get Omar Barada? Who's going to get the, you know? I obviously joke around, but the problem and the timing of this could not be any worse. Now, from the offset, I know that people are talking about Sir Jim, the comments, and whether you agree with that or not, that's on you. I'm not talking about that. The internal warfare, not just the players who have been insulted, but the boardroom must be a bonfire right now. Exactly. And this is exactly what I mean, right? And I think you've just hit the nail on the head there. Imagine, you know, you're trying to get into the Champions League, or you're trying to, you know, we've had a rough season, an awful season. It actually just transpires that actually it's now turned into a good season. Just when you're on the cusp, just when you're on the cusp of winning 5 games, you've drawn 1, but you've won 4, and you've really given yourself a chance to get back into the Champions League, because your club knows that you need the money. If we don't get Champions League this season, we're pretty screwed, right? Just when it looks like we've turned a corner on the pitch, off the pitch, your owner goes and says that. You can't make this up. You can't make it up. The impact that is having internally is ridiculous. Look, we all know, and I'm for a second going to back these players, right? Is that we all know what these players are, right? Zane, I hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. How are you, my friend? I'm doing extremely well, buddy, and I hope you are as well, my friend. We all know what these players are, right? Pressure-wise, they can't handle the pressure, right? Insert conspiracy theory here. Exactly. We all know these players can't handle the pressure, right? But when your owner, bearing in mind, we're trying to get a manager to come in as well, some new players, and your owner goes and basically insults you on this one occasion. If I was these players and I was the type of player that potentially he was talking about, I would be pissed off this evening. I would be absolutely pissed off. And Hedgie, you're right. That's what he did. I do not understand why. And look, Kieran, mate, you're entitled to bring that in tonight. He was having a conversation about something outside of this club. When you're an owner of this club, look, whether he likes it or not, there are conversations that should you really be having? Probably not. But that's up to him. But he's done it under the guise of this club as well, and brought this club into it, and he's fucked it up. Like Sir Jim in one fell swoop may have not only effed up the ownership, his relationship with staff, with players, with the Glazers, but he could now potentially impacted us on the pitch. So it's just you can't make this up. So this again tonight, and again, look, we should be talking. Look, tonight we should be talking about Carrick winning the Manager of the Month. We should be irrespective, and we will flip over to that. But it's really important tonight because look, I've been told stuff tonight. I've been told that it is not a happy camp. I've been told that it is not a happy camp tonight. It is the players are not happy. The ownership is not happy. It's like somebody's walked up to the Glazers and slapped them around the face, because the Glazers, as we know, they don't like attention being brought. They don't like any connotations. They literally just want to sit in the States, just sit there and do fuck all, basically. Now, the Glazers can happily ride that out, right? But this is the main sticking point. So not only have you got a part owner, and Sir Jim is just made himself look like an imbecile. Not only do you have that, so you basically not only have you pissed off the players, a large section of the fan base, your staff members, then what you've then gone and done also is commercially you're failing as well. Now, this is one of the things to consider. Now, in any other season, the Glazers, I think, could have just gone, look, he said some stuff, we'll put some stuff out, we'll go and sign a player, forgiven. The extra debt this season is going to hit us hard. But additionally, commercially, we need a sleeve sponsor. We don't have that. A sponsor for the training kit. We don't have that. Managers, Ancelotti, Nagelsmann now is pushing himself away. Tuchel and Enrique. Ever since that comment has happened, you need to look at the impact of this now. So one of the things that I've been told as well is that the Glazers are not happy with their financial situation. They are not happy. Look, they don't want to fund anything out of their own pocket. And we're coming to a stage whereby there's going to have to be another injection of cash. And there is a real possibility tonight that Ineos and the Glazers come to the summer, because obviously there is I think it's until next year that the Glazers can buy out the shares, or they can they can get rid of them. There is a strong possibility tonight that Ineos and the Glazers could part ways. And look, where we go from here, I don't know. But as of now, this is an unmitigated disaster. This is a PR disaster. This is a disaster. There is no spin tonight. There is no spin. There is no spin that they can do. There is no pulling this back that they can do tonight. So I just wanted to start off the show with that tonight. Is on something that I've been told tonight is that they are not happy. And look, I'm not talking about a sale tonight. Could this lead to a sale? Look, what Sir Jim did, if it ends up with a sale, fantastic. I'm not necessarily talking about that tonight. I'm talking about the detrimental impact that Sir Jim, and I just need to say this, who is a lifelong fan of the club, who's from the area, who is a self-made man who was going to come in and save the club, and all he's done. And don't forget, the Glazers don't get away with this either, by the way. Who's come in to save the club, who basically not only has he come into the club and made us financially worse, has also come in and insulted a large majority of this fan base. So tonight, we just need to keep an eye on it, because Everton, the next game is going to be an interesting game. It's going to be a very, very interesting game, and I just wonder what spin that can be put on it. So look, it is not a happy camp. So just when you think things are looking bright, the team is winning on the pitch. Carrick gets manager of the month. Fantastic. This team wins 4 out of 5. Something has to happen, and that is where we are. So let me go through your chats, and then we can move on to the manager and some of the transfer news as well. Exactly more. Geordie says, manumission, the players are not happy. Exactly. Maybe Ratcliffe wants to go into politics. Jesus Christ, can you imagine that? Yep. No, not saying he was right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Hedgie says, left or right, Sir Jim shouldn't have brought politics into sport and United. I hate that he did. I do agree with you. Players in the club not happy with the comments because some have come from poverty in their country. Exactly. I see United getting top 4 in Champions League spot. I'm happy. City fan, says Zane, as you should be, buddy. Great debate. Love this stuff and this channel, says Kieran. Thanks, buddy. United look fresh and new, says Zane. He represents United now. He gets no coverage if he's not linked. Exactly. You know the saying, today's news is tomorrow's chip paper, doesn't even apply to this. Exactly. Every word spoken in public outside of football by an owner or the board member reflects back on United. It's bizarre. Exactly. Come on, Sydney, Australia. All the way, says Sydney FC fan. They don't want anyone destroying Manchester United. Exactly. Lee Frost says, hi. Hello, Lee. Guess what? If I go buy a house and move someone in and let the house rot around them, that's basically what Glazers are doing to United, says Ray. Busby will be turning in his grave. And Ray, you know what? I use that analogy all of the time to describe the Glazers. Look, the Glazers have played a masterstroke, right? Everybody at the moment, and correctly so, should be talking about Ineos and Sir Jim. This is what the Glazers did it. The Glazers played a blinder. But when we are talking about this club and the fact that if we do move, as Ray says there, it's basically like you buy a house and you let it rot. You let it go to ruin and it gets destroyed. And then you've got to basically go and rebuild the house again. Ridiculous. Zane says, this season United will be back and better. Next season we'll have a fresh new start with some new players. Zane, we will get into that as well, mate, because I think that the manager stuff I think is important and we will talk about that. Brand sales are outside of football itself and the biggest income globally that would wreck the finances. United are a club that has to be in Europe. I do agree. Do you think it will affect the gate receipts too? I don't think. I don't know. I don't know because there are certain things that transcend football. Like when you're talking about the subject matter that he was talking about, there are things that are more important than football, and there are people and cultures out there who, as much as they can forgive, and I'm talking about me as well. If somebody was to insult me, but there are some cultures who are just like, well, what are you talking about? Like I've paid more tax here, or my family has done X, Y, and Z. And maybe it does. Frank says, was it? Nah, Frank. Frank, it wasn't done on purpose. It wasn't done on purpose. It wasn't done on purpose, Frank. I would, look, Frank, if, for example, suddenly Sir Jim wanted to devalue the club, and then bought it at a fraction of a cost and made this club amazing again, fine. It would. I would. Let's just say next year, if next September, right, Sir Jim had his plan the whole way long to destabilise the club, get it bought for cheap, and then turn it into a powerhouse again, I would go, Sir Jim, I take it all back. You fooled us all. You are a genius, right? I tell you why I don't think it was done on purpose, Frank, is because one, you look at what he's done with Nice. There was no master plan with Nice, and you look how that has gone to shit. His own company, Ineos, at the moment are £17 billion in debt. He can't even afford to bail out one of the businesses. He's had to get grants from the government to basically keep his business afloat. So I actually don't think he's done it on purpose. I actually think he's just very, very complacent. I just think that Sir Jim is very, very complacent. And I think he's a bit of an imbecile. I do. It's classic example. People in glass houses shouldn't lob hand grenades. United will survive. Exactly. John says, hi. Hello, John Kennedy. I hope United push us to get top four. My brother loves United. Thank you, John. The fact we have a no comment from the Glazer speaks volumes. And look, again, I'm going to reiterate. I can't even bloody talk. I'm going to reiterate this tonight. That this is, I don't know if this has been covered already. I've had conversations today. I get little bits and pieces. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not going to say I get told every little tiny thing. I've just been told snippets today that internally United are not happy. United internally, this is a fucking disaster. This is a shit show. Now, people have to be careful because Sir Jim is Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Who's going to tell him? But internally they generally can't believe what he's done. They honestly can't believe how naive he's been. And it is not good. It is, as of tonight, it is not good. Zane says they need to get rid of the Glazers. They are making United look bad. They need new owners. Farage will be ringing Ratcliffe up to join his party. Remember how the last... And Frank makes a good point. Random guy, I've just seen that. I will come on to that. Frank has made a good point. Just because there could be a potential sale doesn't mean it's going to be good. And Frank, mate, you make a good point. Thoughts on the Glazers being... I'm not going to read that out. But if they are, it's going to be... United could be saved. If it's true, random guy. If it's true, if there's anything, any inkling, I've not seen it at all, so I don't know if you're taking the piss or not. Because everybody and their dog of a particular age seems to be mentioned in those files. If they are, and again, I have to say allegedly, if there's any allegations, then it will be good for the club. Morally, it will be disgraceful, and I hope that the law will go to the nth degree to get so these people get brought to justice. What do you think of his comments? Says Cook. Look, I'm not going to go into what he said. Ratcliffe says what he said. Now, look, one of the things I base this channel on, one of the things I try to base things on in life, there are some things that are right and there's some things that are wrong, right? That is a fact of life. Everything else in between is grey, the same as me, right? What that means is that you can have an opinion on stuff, right? Sir Jim is entitled to his opinion. I just believe there are times where you mention your opinions and there are times when you don't. And I don't believe that this is supposed to be, look, this is us talking about our club, right? We shouldn't even be talking about this stuff. But I don't believe me bringing in my own personal opinion on stuff outside of this really adds to a conversation. Chelsea Superfan says, hi, hello, buddy. I'm doing great, and I hope you're doing good as well. I think people are entitled to have an opinion. You know, I'm not talking about Sir Jim's opinion outside of the club. That is his view. But then what he's got to have to accept is that if you've got a very, very strong opinion about something, it's basically a bit like saying, if all of your friends have dogs and you say, I don't like dogs or I don't like cats, and then your friends are just like, well, you can't come around my house anymore because, you know, it's a very strong opinion. You know, you don't have to like a dog or a cat or a hamster. But when you make a strong opinion, you're going to have to sort of live with it. Let's have a little look, see what else we're saying. Could you get David Beckham as the owner? Zane, look, there's talk of a consortium, and Beckham is leading the charge. If there was any chance that Beckham could buy into this club, I'm telling you now, Beckham would 100% be an owner of this club. But someone who wants to buy this club at present is going to have to find the best part of £8 billion. So what we said, hi there, my friend. Is everything okay today, my friend? Yes, Andrew, everything is all good today, my friend. Everything is awesome. It's all good. And Andrew, I hope you're doing extremely well as well. Card given, kiss on the lips rather than the cheek. Marks and Sparks Mill for 2. Plonk, footy, and maybe a cuddle. Who am I kidding? Kieran, mate. I had my Valentine's Day yesterday because my wife and my children are away tonight. So, you know, look, those of you guys who, you know, it's 10:30. So, you know, if you need to leave for reasons, you know, then you have to leave, you know, because that is, and the same for girls as well, you know, girls and guys, you know, it is a special night. So if you do have to leave, you know, feel free to come back because it takes like half an hour. Feel free to come back. I think Carrick should stay at Old Trafford, my friend. We will get into that as well. I'll get through the chat, and then I wanted to go through that because I think there are some good points in that, and I do think that's a good point. Moss says Ampadu for CDM. Ampadu. I like Ampadu. Leeds, obviously. I think Ampadu is one of those players that would be a very, very good squad player. Am I doing him a disservice? I don't know. I like Ampadu. I do. Do I think that you should just get an Ampadu on its own? No. I like Ampadu. I do. Ampadu's one of those players, Moss, where I do agree with you. he's one of those players that he's been around for quite some time. And I do agree with you. I think we need a squad. And I think that Ampadu would be a very, very good squad player. In fact, I think he'd be a very, very good player. Is he an upgrade on an Ugarte? Yes. Do I think he's experienced in the Premier League? Yes. I think he's one of those players that actually would do a very, 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 very good job. So actually, I don't mind Ampadu. I don't mind him at all. I would rather Anana, not the goalkeeper, but I do quite like him as well. I think Carrick should stay at Old Trafford, my friend, because he's doing well. And look, we will get into that. I will start to talk about that as well. We don't have money, we have funds. If United got owners, it needs a consortium of football minds rather than hobby owners or political. Yes, I do agree with you. Was Alanga and Garnacho good riddance? Yes. Alanga's one of those ones that's very, very tricky to know. But then again, Alanga was brilliant for Forest. He's gone to Geordies. I don't know if he's been injured. But I think if you're, well, one of them definitely. Alanga, possibly yes. Yes, you either find a way to get Enrique or Emery, or you stick with Carrick. One player we need for depth midfield. I agree with you. We need a defensive midfielder. That is 100%. So look, let's get into. I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about the managerial situation as well. So there is talk of Michael Carrick, Spurs. Now, this is where. So I'll give you my opinion on it, but my opinion has slightly shifted based on what's happened over the last week. So this is my initial opinion on it. So my initial opinion is this: why rush? Whether you give Carrick the job now by the end of the season, I still think, and I will be. You can call me out on this view. Okay, my view is this. I think it's absolutely preposterous, it's absolutely ridiculous that you give a manager a job, an interim coach a job based on 5 games. I don't care. I don't care if he's beaten Madrid, City, Arsenal, Madrid, Bayern, Brazil. I don't care. I don't care who he's beaten, right? You can't give somebody a job after 5 games, right? Not sure Carrick, and this is it. So for me, I am not sure Michael Carrick is the guy. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying that he is, right? I just don't see the point in appointing him now. And look, unless, and this is where for me it slightly shifts. Well, it doesn't actually, because Spurs are apparently in for him. Now, Spurs are not going to make an offer for him just yet. Tudor has gone into Spurs until the end of the season. So whatever happens, no club is going to come in for him. And there are 2 reasons why. Number one is because I don't think anybody at this stage of the season is going to appoint a permanent coach unless you are the Blues, right? But also, the reason why Spurs are not going to go and appoint Carrick is because Carrick has only had 5 games. So as much as I do agree, manager of the month, big tick. Fantastic tick. Great. Amrin won it as well, by the way. It is, for me, it is preposterous. And I'm not calling your opinions out. If that is what you believe is right, respect the opinion. I respect that view. I cannot, for the life of me, fathom why after 5 games in a 38-game season, and I know Carrick is not going to have those games. He's going to have, 15 or so games? How you can give a manager a 3-year contract or any sort of contract after 5 games. I just can't do it. Now, nobody is going to come in for Michael Carrick, right? So I just don't see why you would want to be in a rush to appoint him now when you've got months and months to go and you can wait to appoint him. Now, the reason why is simply, as many of you have just said there, is this, is we don't know what he's going to be. Kieran says there, sometimes it is the kiss of death. You know, who's to say, touch wood, that he's not going to implode? Maybe it implodes and it's not his fault. You know, maybe it implodes because of an injury. It is too early. It is too early right now. And Andrew, I'm gonna ask you the question, right? And this is for, and again, buddy, I promise you, I'm not saying that your opinion is wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm asking you now, why give him the job? Why would you give him the job now? To bear in mind that it's not going to be any difference at all if you give him the job now or until June. The only difference would be if you give him a 3-year contract now and let's just say it goes to utter shit and you sack him, you've got to pay him 3 years off. Or do you wait to see what he can do? That is all I'm asking in this. I'm not saying, because the reason why I wouldn't give him the job right now is because I don't know what he is. Like, I can see glimpses of a coach, but tactically as well, I'm not seeing it yet. It doesn't mean to say that Carrick isn't the guy. It doesn't mean to say that he is. I just don't see this rush. And as I said there, the knee-jerk reaction when you don't need to do it now, it would be different, and this is where I would slightly change it a bit, is if Spurs came in. Spurs haven't, by the way. If Spurs came in now and said, look, Carrick, we want you to come in now, at that point, maybe you do have to make a choice. They haven't. Now, Andrew says, and to be fair to Andrew, I did ask him the question because he is a good person. Now, Andrew, I don't doubt that. I don't. Andrew, I'm gonna say this. Erik ten Hag was a good person. Amorim was a good person. I don't think being a good person comes into it, but I get it. I know what you're trying to say, and I think Andrew is right on that one, because Erik ten Hag was a nice person, but he came across as a right prat. So I think Andrew, I agree with you, and I think I'd probably say he's more of a likable person rather than a good person. I think how I would not come back, how I would talk to you with that, I'd say I would personally change that from a good person to a likable coach, right? So he's able to talk to players. The manager bit, mate, I don't know, Andrew, how you can. What is it you can see? And to bear in mind, mate, I'm not saying, in my opinion, you could be older than me, right? Right. I want to know what you're seeing on the pitch to tell you that Carrick is the manager that can do this job, because I've been watching these games as well, and there are things that I see that are very, very good, but there are also things that I see that are not great, and there are things from a tactical perspective that I don't think are great. Prime example, a low block team. Now, if Michael Carrick had found a way to win and win comfortably against a low block team, now again, that for me would have been a big tick. Same old problems. Is that a manager thing? Is that a player thing? I don't know, but I understand, and Andrew, I completely respect what you're saying. I get it, and I think being a good guy, or I think being a good communicator to players, I think is a very, very underrated skill, and I think he's got that. I think he understands the club. I think he's, in terms of that, Andrew, I agree with you completely. I think that's a very, very well made point, because I think if you look at Amorim, a Ten Hag, I think that they were really, really, really bad at that. I thought that they were really, really bad at understanding the players, understanding the culture. I just don't know if Carrick is the right coach yet. The dude's back says, so look, it looks like that there are teams sniffing around. And Carrick to Spurs. Spurs are inquiring. Spurs are trying to talk to Carrick. Carrick's stock is up. I will go through the chat, and then I think there is an interesting conversation to be had again. So look, right now, would I give him the job based on the 5 games? No. Would I give him the job based on what I've seen now? No. Would I give him the job right now because I'm scared in case he goes to Spurs? No. But there is a caveat. There is a caveat, because look, things change. Things change. There is a caveat. I'll go through the chat and then I'll tell you why I would potentially be looking to give him the job, because there are 2 sides to it all. So look, let me get through some of these chats already. Let's have a little look. Moss says, I'm not sure Carrick can do it. Carrick to Spurs would tempt him, but it depends on how he goes from now until the summer. Exactly, with this board. Kieran says, United need to see where they end up at the end of the season. No rush. Let Carrick stay till then. Agreed, buddy. And he says, give Carrick a chance. Wouldn't be surprised if no top coach wants to join to be the manager right now because of this board. Exactly. If he does implode, Carrick may leave to avoid being made a scapegoat, and that's unlucky. And again, I think that's a fantastic point. I will say this for Carrick, even if I'm not sure, the one thing I am damn well sure, whatever happens this season, he's doing a job that he's been asked to do. Yes, he's getting paid for it, but this is not his fault. So I will absolutely back him on that. I heard Spurs from Carrick, they can get lost. You don't need an Osman. We have done a knee-jerk appointment before, so I have Spurs. So I can't see anything being put off the table before the summer. I agree with what you say. Thanks, buddy. I'm a good person, but I'd be crap at management. The thought occurred. Frank and Postecoglou both out of work. I hope United don't look at either of them. Jesus. I do admire Postecoglou's balls to wall attack, but he can be dire. Yes. Character Spurs. I've done that one. Santiago says hello. Danny says Ineos have done more in 5 minutes than the Glazers in 15 years. Find that Ineos hate Danny. Mate, I think, Danny, you were in the minority, Danny. But I respect the opinion. Just because I don't agree with it, just because I don't agree, and I'll give you some reasons why. What have Ineos done? What have they done? They've signed some players, great. Well, they should have signed some fucking players. So Ineos have been out and signed some players, and these players are good. Well, big deal, because that's their job. They have they've sacked a load of people. on the guise of trying to stabilise the ship. They've sacked a load of people. They've stopped giving money to ex-players, and basically the situation financially is worse. So in terms of our ability to operate as a club, our ability to make money is now getting worse. We've dropped down the rich list as well, Danny. So we've always been in the top 5. We're now down to, I think, 9th. So we're losing money. The end of this season, we're going to be £130 million less as well. So we're going to have to add that to the debt as well. The best in class side. So let's see what the best in class side have done. The best in class side have hired a director of football, spent longer trying to get him out of a club than what he was here, and then sacked him. They sacked Ten Hag. They spent £300 million on Ten Hag to sack him, pay him off. They then went and got Amarin, who, whether you like him or not, was the wrong guy. Spent some money on him, promised he'd be here for 3 years, sacked him as well, cost a bunch of money. You tell me, what if, yes, the Glazers have destroyed this club. They have, and I can't stand the Glazers, but Ineos are now doing their own type of damage. So, Danny, for obvious reasons, I don't agree, but it doesn't mean I don't respect that opinion, Danny. Look, mate, I just so you know, and we're clear, I can't stand the Glazers. I think they are disgusting human beings. They have destroyed this club. I can't stand them. Ineos and Sir Jim, in my view, are in the same boat on the basis that they've enabled these evil people to stay. But it doesn't mean to say that if you're a fan of Sir Jim, Ineos, or the Glazers, I've got no problem. Like this channel is about opinion. We don't have to agree. I'm not going to agree on that view, but you've got your right. And the one thing I'll always say, you don't have to agree to be on this channel. I don't mind banter. I don't mind you. If you were to come on here and you want to defend your opinion that you think the Glazers, and Danny, I'm not saying that this is your view. I'm just saying that if you wanted to be the polar opposite to me, I would always encourage people to respect your view, and I would always encourage people to respect your opinion, even if we don't agree. But Danny, on this occasion, buddy, I disagree. Ten Hag tried his best, but he's thinking about Wolves. Ben Turner says we all want him to go on to surpass Pep as a manager. He's got the opportunity. Only time will tell. He's been great so far. I mean, look, Ben Turner, I love that comment, mate. Look, Ben, the reason why I like that comment is because I don't agree with the comment. I think it's too early to tell, but I do agree with you, man. I'd love Carrick to go on to be the new Pep. I'd love him to be here for 25 years, and then we look back, just as fans did as well, by the way. So Fergie, as we know, was one game away from being sacked. I would love to have that moment where we look back in 25 years' time and say, remember the season that he came in, he was here after like 5 games, people weren't sure, we waited until the end of the season. The only reason he came in was because Amarin got sacked. Imagine that. I'd love that. I just think that people need to take each game as it comes. I do. I just think, as a fan base, I just think, look, let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy the fact. So for those of you tonight, like Andrew and Ben, right, who want Carrick in now and Carrick to be given the job now, tonight, guys, this is a win for you guys. This is a massive tick. This is a big, huge tick. For people like me who are on the fence and are not sure, again, I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, cool, But look, these are the wins. Look, we get so many losses, right? We've got our owners trying to sabotage this club. We've got one of them who is basically trying to God knows what. So all these wins, and look, I would love Carrick to be the guy, to be the pet, but I don't know. Joshua says, I think Carrick should have the job. If any other manager they won't try, but Carrick, I will try better. I will come on to that as well. I think Carrick should start Old Trafford because of Alex Ferguson. Either way, I'd like to see Carrick stay in the Premier. We need a young English coach in the top league. Agree to the financial bump forward Ineos were supposed to provide has not fizzled. It is non-existent. Exactly. Did you say Amrin wasn't the wrong guy? You're 100% wrong. Amrin is the fraud. He's the wrong guy any time of the day. Look, Don, as I say before, Don, people have their opinions on things, right? You say I'm 101% wrong. I disagree with you. I can. Amarin is not a fraud. Amarin is not a fraud. I'm not going to get on to Amarin now because he's gone. Amarin is not fraud. When we get to the end of the season, I will tell you why. I'm not going to do it now, but I think if those people are going to have their views, I have a different view. I do. If we win some big money on the postcode lottery, I would help them spend more on the managers and clubs spend on their budgets. We all love a bit. Exactly. We all love a bit of banter. Exactly. The fans prop up the Glazers. Stop handing over your hard-earned, and they will sell sooner. Evening, mate. Shaw and Casemiro, world class as always. Fresh, mate. Legend. Bored of this crap with the owners now. Equally, I don't want to be another old club. Fresh, legend. Why is it that when a manager doesn't succeed, not any other club, it's the management? Some managers just don't succeed, and the club has to move on. And look, I think, Don, that is an equally good point. I think it is a good point as well. Look, we've had players and coaches at this club, and sometimes they don't fit. Look, Amarin, I think he's one of those ones whereby, do I think that Amarin was the right guy? No. Do I think that was Amarin's fault? No. Do I think it was Ineos' fault? Yes. Look, Amarin didn't have to take the job, right? But if I'm a coach and you're playing a back two, so imagine if you play a back two, a forward six, right? And this club hires you, are you going to say no? No. Amarin was hired to do a job. Was Amarin the wrong guy? Probably yes. Right, I could argue a situation where he's not, but there is no point. What I am going to say for me right now, without going into it a lot, is Amarin, I think, was the wrong hire. I think we didn't have the right players for him. Amarin was very, very naive. Amarin's very, very young. Amarin's very, very, very stubborn. I think all of the characteristics, I think all of the points I've mentioned there were too much. Yeah. I think management is evolving so much, especially with the club board buying players as assets are not being built by the managers of the past. If Carrick gets top five, he keeps the job. I'm not a fan of the whole manager doesn't buy players. The board does. That separation fuels player disaffection, and I do agree with that. Andrew says he should stay at Old Trafford, my friend, and I think it is the truth. Andrew, I promise you, mate. I promise you, I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm not saying. I just I'll get through the chats, and then I'll give you my opinion as to why I think you could be right. Omar says hello. Thomas says, do we want Scott McTominay back? Thomas, look, if someone said to me, would you take Scott McTominay back? My answer would be yes, right? Do I want to go and sign Scott McTominay back for £70 million? No, Thomas, because that would be absolutely ridiculous. If we could sign him back at a good price, would I take him back? Yes. But if we take him back, we're going to look ridiculous. Like imagine we sold him for 30 million. Imagine if we buy him back for 65 million. It would be embarrassing, Thomas. For that reason alone, for me, I can't even do it. But if I could take him back, would I? Yes. But I think the situation for me in terms of that right now is just something I don't think that I could do. Give him a chance. He's got some, and look, I'm not disagreeing with you. That's the right word. They're stubborn. Look, Amarin was very, very stubborn. I think the two things for me that I think would sum him up are naivety and stubbornness. 100%, 100%. Let's go through this. Okay, so now Andrew in the chat is making a Carrick case. Now, I'm going to go on to the situation as I know it as of today, right? And the reason why I still wouldn't give him the contract now, but I would be leaning towards this job is Carrick's to lose, right? Now, doesn't mean I'm going to give him a contract now, because Carrick can still lose the job. Because let's just say this, right? Imagine Carrick now loses the place for whatever reason. We all know these players, right? Let's just say he manages to lose it. Touch wood. Let's just say let's just say that the results don't quite go the way, and we finish in 6th or 7th, right? It can happen. It can happen, right? At that point, you go, is Carrick the guy? And you may still say yes, right? However, so Don says there's talk of getting a certain midfielder from the Geordie to replace Casemiro. I think that's a good move. Tonali, I think Tonali would be a great move. I like Tonali. I really, 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 really like Tonali. Don, I agree with you. So the situation for me right now is this. Now, I said of all of the coaches, there are two scenarios for me where there are two lists of a coach. Okay, there is list one, where you've got your experienced, and when I say a world-class coach, what I'm really trying to say here is somebody who has managed teams who have won a league. I know it's not the Premier League, but it could be the Premier League. It could be the Spanish League. Maybe they've managed a lot of games in the Champions League. Maybe they've won the Champions League. They're used to dealing with big egos. They're used to dealing with a big squad. Now, I would like that type of coach if this club was ambitious. So if this club was going to say, look, we're going to be very, very ambitious this season, or we're going to sell 6 players, we're going to buy 8, we're going to get a big squad, we're going to push into the Champions League, and we want the best in-class coach. At that point, Carrick, I'm really, really sorry. I've got a manager, and even if Carrick was at that point to get into the top 4, and there's a world-class coach or a coach who's more experienced available, we're going to give him a massive budget, massive players. I'm sorry, but this guy has proved it. I'm going to give it to him. Doesn't mean that that's right, but that is my view. Now, secondary is this. If you're an unambitious club and you're expecting a manager to work in, and again, I've just explained that. What I'm trying to say here is when I'm talking about a best-in-class coach, I'm talking about a coach who has been there before, who's actually managed more than 7 Premier League games, who has managed in the Premier League for multiple seasons, who has won a Premier League. There's a certain English manager who's now going to stay there that has done that. I want a coach who has managed in leagues, who's actually been a senior coach, who's managed in, and I'm not just talking about in the Championship. I'm talking about a coach who's managed in the top leagues around the world for more than a season, who's managed big players, big squads, who's managed teams in the Champions League, who maybe got to a quarter-final, a semi-final. These are the managers that I want. Okay. Also, these coaches come with an ego. These coaches come with a price tag because they're going to want their players. That is a team and a coach that I want. I want an ambitious club who are going to get rid of a Luke Shaw, who are going to get rid of those players, who are going to then bring in some new players, who is going to give a coach time, who's going to give the coach the players and say, we are going to be an ambitious club. We need you. However, there is a second list whereby we're a club that's got no money. And I think people miss this as well. We are not ambitious because to be ambitious, you need cash, and we don't have cash. So we're not an ambitious club. We're going to keep a Luke Shaw. We're going to keep a Maguire. We're going to keep a Mason Mount. Those players are going to stay. We're not going to sell 6 and we're not going to buy 8. We'll probably sell or let go 4 and we'll probably sign 3 or 4. Okay? We're going to keep the majority of this squad. So in that instance, I then need a coach who is not necessarily a world-class coach, who is a coach who can work with these players, who is a coach that can inspire whether or not I think these players are good or bad, that can work with these players, knows the club, knows how to get the best out of these players. And if somebody is telling me there's a list of Pochettino, Glazer, Arola, De Zerbi, Carrick has to get the job. So in a situation for me whereby we're not going to be ambitious, we're not going to get the best in class people, coaches, the players, and we're basically going to have to use this squad again because guess what, people? There is no money. Then for me right now, it's Carrick's to lose. I would rather, and again, this I'm not going to be a hypocrite and go against the things that I've said because whether people like it or not, Glazer has won an FA Cup. It is Carrick's to lose. So I think right now I still wouldn't give a contract to Carrick, but I still think it's Carrick's to lose. And look, I know what this club's going to be, and even if they give Carrick a contract for a year or 2 years, then that's fine. But I don't want to miss out. And look, people will not agree with me on this. I don't want to miss out, which we have already, because Ancelotti is not going to come. Nagelsmann has moved away. Tuchel is not available. Enrique. Other than those coaches, can anybody really tell me if Carrick finishes top 5? Is there anybody else outside of that other than an Emery? I don't think Emery would come, but I would still choose him. Outside of an Emery, is there anybody else that could come and take jobs? So look, to go back on what people like Andrew are saying, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not. I just think that just to still give Carrick the job right now, the only way in my view that you would give Carrick the job now as this club is if you know you're not going to get the players, you're not going to get the coaches, and somebody like a Spurs comes in and said, Carrick, we want to hire you, then at that point, if you know as a club you're not going to get the best in class, you get Carrick. Don says Carrick hasn't turned water into wine. He's allowed players to operate from their natural positions using a formation that accommodates them. Performances have improved. Let's wait until the end. Don, mate, Don, agree with you 100%. Agree with you 100%. When I talk about tactically of Carrick, I agree with Don. So far, this is my view. It doesn't mean that I'm right. It's not Carrick managing these players to win. It is these players deciding to play. What Carrick has done is he's given these players what these players want and crave. These players need to be told how amazing they are. These players need to be told constantly what a bunch of professionals they are. They need to train in a particular way. Carrick has given in to them. Carrick has pandered to these players. So these players are playing well because they like Carrick. The reason why these players are playing well has got nothing to do with the coaching. The sessions themselves might be good, but the players have to be engaged, and the reason the players are engaged is because they like it. What you may see is if Carrick gets given the job full time and Carrick is no longer their mates, world-class coaches come in with lists and requirements. Exactly. Emery, Enrique, Tuchel, who signed a new England contract, is out. Exactly. Should have brought out Emery from the start. Payouts alone could have got him. Exactly. I think Carrick should stay at Old Trafford because I am his best fan in the world, and I think he should do well next season. My friend and Sand, my best support for me and my friend. Mate, there is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong, my friend, in you wanting him to stay. And look, I hope, Andrew, for you, I hope Carrick, and for me, I hope Carrick does become a world-class coach, and it's good, mate. It's good. Don says, if we qualify for the Champions League, our players would have been used to Carrick and his style. Replacing him with a big name could mean we're losing one season again. So he can adopt to the EPL. To meet a new top manager's requirements, we need to sell 6 or 7 and give him a decent budget. Not happening. Exactly. If we qualify for the Champions League, get Carrick 4 or 5 new signings, we'll be fine next season. The only thing I'm going to say to that is, where do we get these signings from? That's topic for another show. But I'd love Carrick to smash it forward, and then we can see who he is as a coach. But between him and Emery in a situation, Emery all day long. I do agree with you. Pilgrim says hi. It'll be great if he gets the job. I think he'll get it, my friend, and hopefully he does. So look, guys, that's gone quick tonight. Look, fantastic to be back tonight. I am going to go, but look, fantastic show. That went really fast tonight. Brilliant show. And again, I think it's in a week whereby I didn't think there's lots to talk about. There is lots to talk about, and it's sadly not all about the football. It's all about this sort of stuff. So all I'm going to say to you is, again, I'll reiterate the fact that I got told some stuff. So Joseph says, hi, hello, my friend. Look, watch it, because the stuff that we're going to see, I think, over the next couple of days, weeks, is not going to be to do with the football on the pitch. It's going to be, you're going to see outside of the pitch. And I just think over the next couple of days, it's going to be, again, it's always going to be something attached to us. And I don't think it's going to be football. So if anything does break or update, I will let you know. I will be back tomorrow morning. I will be back tomorrow. I just didn't do a show today, just busy. So I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I think, and then and then I'll do a show tomorrow night as well. So look, guys, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for watching. Great show tonight. As STJ says there, bonfire of egos. which isn't helpful or constructive, but it's definitely going to be interesting. I agree with you as well. And also, as well, I think that the number one thing as well is this, before I go, is imagine this. If you're a world-class coach, or any coach, imagine you have done your coaching badges. Let's just say you've managed Madrid, you've managed Brazil, Juventus, AC Milan, and imagine you then get told that you have to work under a Jason Wilcox. I think the fact that these people, these world-class coaches, know that they're going to have to work under a Jason Wilcox, I'm not surprised that nobody wants to come to this club, because I don't even think Jason Wilcox's wife wants to be underneath him. So, yeah. So on that note, thank you guys. I will be back tomorrow. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. You guys are legends, and I genuinely mean this a lot. Thank you for the interactions on the channel. Thank you for the support. Absolute legends of this channel. So look, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. You guys are legends, and I will be back tomorrow. Stay safe and take care.